So today I want to show you guys a problem that I had with my wipers on my Renault Koleos. This is the same model that was made between 2008 and 2015. Seems to be a pretty common problem across the Koleoses. So what happens is eventually you're using your windshield wipers and they get stuck and you can sort of hear the motor just grinding away. And when I investigated, I found that the plastic worm gear had actually been grinded away by the metal worm gear. So I've created a new 3D printed part that you can replace it with, and this video is just to show you how that's done. So first you just want to pop the bonnet. Once your bonnet's up, first thing you're going to want to do is remove the windshield wipers. So it's just a bolt on each arm. Once you undo the bolt, it probably won't be loose, but if you give it a little bit of a wiggle, it'll come off. You also want to take note of where the windshield wipers stop at. And this is just so that you can reset the system at the same position. So it looks roughly like that. It doesn't have to be exact, but roughly right. Once your windshield wipers are off, the next thing you want to do is just pop these little plastic clips out. They're pretty easy. You just pinch them from either side. I just get two little bits of tools and just sort of poke it under that lip and then pull it up. Once the top half pops up, then you can remove the whole plastic clip. Make sure you don't lose them or break them because they are a pain in the ass to rebuy. So once all the clips are removed, all you have to do is release these plastic slidings. They just sort of pop down if you just push them with your fingers, sort of like what I'm doing there. And then they'll pop off, and then you should be able to just slide the plastic cowling back. It's not very hard, and you'll be able to do it pretty easily. Hardest part is just sort of working each side as it eventually becomes loose. The only thing that you have to take notice of is the black pipe which is used for the windshield wiper squirt. So you can't remove it all the way, you just pop it back about 30 centimeters or so and then just let it sit on top of the engine. Once you got that off, that's your windshield wiper mechanism, and you'll want to remove those 4 bolts. They should come off pretty easily. Disconnecting it electrically, it's pretty straightforward. It's just a little plastic clip on the back. Once you got that out, that's your wiper motor. The black plastic top, you just remove those bolts as I've done there. And that gets you to the gear part. So for mine, the plastic was well and truly shredded and you could see it everywhere. To remove it, you just have to pop that little shaft. So you just give it a bit of a tap and it'll come out. And you should see something similar to what I've got. Next up, to remove it, I cut through 2 sides of it, as you can see there, and it didn't come off that easily, but if you just get 2 sets of pliers, you'll be able to pinch it off like as what I've just done there. And that leaves you with the shaft, which we'll be reusing. Next up, I cleaned the shaft, just got a bit of isopropyl spray. Main reason I'm doing this is just so that when we put the epoxy glue on, it just gets a good bond. The epoxy glue isn't actually required for the gear teeth strength. Its only purpose is just to hold the gear onto the shaft. So next you'll want to clean the inside of the motor unit. So I just got rid of all the plastic. I just used a bit of degreaser, cleaned out the bushing, made sure there was nothing left. Just use an old toothbrush. So here you have the new 3D printed gear. So the plastic it's made from uses a SLS 3D printer, so it's actually stronger than the original part. This is the epoxy glue I use, but I think you can use any epoxy glue as you're not relying on it for its strength. Its only purpose is just to fill up space and hold the gear onto the shaft. So here you can see I've just put a little bit inside the actual gear itself. Just using finger strength, I push the shaft into the gear as far as I can. I squeeze it with the G clamps to get at the final amount, and to make sure that the little lip edge has enough glue on it that the gear is going to be held onto the shaft. Then apply as much grease as I can onto the worm gear. You can never really have too much grease, so. And then that's it with the gear assembled. So it was quite easy to push the gear in. It was all a snug fit. I didn't have to use any tools or anything like that. It just pushed it in with my fingers. Next up, re-put on the black case. Now, it's not particularly important how you put the black case on, just as long as you make sure it gets a good seal. Next up, I reconnect it to the car. The main reason I'm doing this is just to reset the position of the wiper motor so that when we connect it to the mechanism, everything's in the right spot. So I just hook up the motor itself and then just give the wipers a quick whirl. You'll hear it, it'll reset the motor back into the position. Now this is, when you put it back onto the wiper mechanisms, this is how it has to be set up in the home position. So if you follow what I've just done there, it would have been in the home position, and you just connect it up, and then this is the wiper mechanism moving. Now while I had it apart, I took the time to re-grease all the joints as well. So I've put the 4 bolts back in and just put it in the car. As you can see, it's working good. And this is it, back in the car. Wipers working, happy to go. Hopefully it'll last a lot longer than the original part. If you need a link to the gear, I'll just put it in the comments.